What if I told you that right now, in this very moment, you're making a decision that will shape the rest of your life? Have you ever stopped to consider that every second ticking by is a piece of your existence that you'll never get back? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the globe. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Time. It's the one resource we all have in equal measure, yet some people seem to accomplish extraordinary feats while others remain trapped in endless cycles of mediocrity. Has this ever happened to you? You set ambitious goals, make promises to yourself, only to find another year has passed with nothing to show for it. In the profound wisdom of Neville Goddard, time is not merely passing. It's either being invested or squandered. Unlike money, which can be earned back after a loss, time vanishes forever once spent. The weak allow it to slip through their fingers like sand, while the strong guard it as their most precious possession, understanding its irreplaceable value. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover might fundamentally change how you view every minute of your day. The difference between those who merely survive and those who truly thrive isn't found in talent, connections, or lucky breaks. It lies in how they approach the currency of life itself, time. The brutal truth is that excuses are the language of failure. Every time you explain why you cannot do something, every moment spent justifying inaction, you're signing a binding contract with mediocrity. These justifications might feel comforting in the moment, but they're silently robbing you of your potential, one rationalization at a time. What if, instead of crafting elaborate reasons for why you can't, you started building the discipline to ensure that you will? Discipline isn't punishment. It's the forge that transforms ordinary men and women into extraordinary forces of nature. It's the invisible weapon that carves giants out of average people when wielded with consistency and purpose. The world doesn't reward those with the most valid excuses. It bows to those who refuse to make them in the first place. Right now, while you're contemplating your limitations, someone else with the same 24 hours is building their empire, advancing their skills, or taking decisive action toward their vision. What separates them from you isn't some magical advantage or superior circumstance. It's their relentless commitment to protect their time and their unwavering discipline to use it purposefully. They understand something that most people never grasp, that your relationship with time defines everything else in your life. But how exactly do you make this transformation? How do you shift from someone who constantly explains why you can't to someone who consistently proves that you will? The journey begins with a fundamental shift in how you view the minutes that make up your day. If you're committed to mastering your time and creating an extraordinary life, hit subscribe now and join our community of action takers who refuse to waste a single minute of their potential. The hidden truth that most people never confront is this: nobody is coming to save you. There's no cavalry on the horizon. No magical intervention that will transform your circumstances while you wait. The revelation that shakes many to their core is that complete responsibility for your life rests squarely on your shoulders, and this realization is actually your greatest power. This journey of transformation begins when you stop outsourcing your success to external forces. While you're waiting for the perfect moment, someone else is creating it. While you're formulating reasons why you can't begin, someone else is already halfway to the finish line. The stark reality is that the difference between those who achieve greatness and those who merely dream about it isn't found in natural talent or favorable circumstances. It's rooted in the decisions they make every single day. Your mindset becomes your reality. When you fully embrace that you alone are responsible for crafting your destiny, something profound shifts within you. Excuses lose their appeal because you recognize them as self-imposed limitations. Blame becomes pointless because you understand that your power lies in response, not reaction. This acceptance isn't a burden, it's liberation in its purest form. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the second weapon in your arsenal against mediocrity: clarity. Without a clear mission guiding your actions, you become like a leaf in the wind, blown wherever the currents of distraction take you. The person without purpose responds to life rather than directing it, forever at the mercy of whatever captures their attention in the moment. The impact of defining your mission with razor-sharp precision cannot be overstated. When you know exactly what you're fighting for, what you're building toward, something remarkable happens. Your relationship with time fundamentally changes. Suddenly, those minutes you once frittered away on meaningless activities feel like theft from your destiny. Each distraction becomes not just a momentary inconvenience, but a direct assault on your future. This clarity acts as an internal compass that guides every decision, big or small. The question, "Does this move me closer to my vision or further away?" becomes the filter through which you evaluate how to spend your precious time. Activities that once seemed harmless now reveal themselves as the silent saboteurs they truly are, quietly eroding the foundation of what you're trying to build. Behind the scenes of every great achievement in history lies this same fundamental truth: the power of a clearly defined purpose. From the world's most innovative companies to history-defining movements, nothing of significance was ever built by someone who was unsure of what they wanted. The mind that knows its destination will find 1,000 paths to reach it, while the mind without direction will find 1,000 reasons to wander. Write in the comments, "I choose clarity," if you're ready to stop drifting and start directing your life with intention. Now, let me show you how to defend yourself against the forces that will try to pull you away from your mission. Your mission brings clarity, but what truly propels you toward extraordinary achievement is focus, the most undervalued currency in today's distracted world. This revelation transforms everything. Focus, not money, not connections, not even raw talent, is what separates those who merely exist from those who truly excel. The marketplace of life pays premium rewards to those who can direct their mental energy with laser precision toward their defined purpose. Consider this hidden truth: the person with average resources but unwavering focus will consistently outperform the person with abundant resources but fragmented attention. History reveals this pattern repeatedly. Breakthrough innovations, artistic masterpieces, and revolutionary businesses weren't necessarily created by the most privileged or naturally gifted. They came from individuals who developed the rare ability to concentrate their entire being on a singular vision, while others scattered their energy across 1,000 meaningless distractions. Focus acts as a magnificent amplifier. It takes whatever resources you currently possess, your knowledge, your skills, your relationships, your time, and multiplies their impact exponentially. The mind that can maintain unwavering attention possesses a superpower in a world where most people can barely complete a single thought without reaching for their phone or surrendering to the next shiny distraction. Your journey toward mastering focus requires recognizing an uncomfortable truth. Your environment will either reinforce your mission or silently sabotage it. This brings us to the battlefield where most dreams either flourish or perish: your daily surroundings. The environments you inhabit are not neutral backgrounds in your life story. They're active forces constantly shaping your mindset, decisions, and ultimately your destiny. If you walk among the lazy, their pace becomes your norm. If your inner circle consists of people who settle for mediocrity, excellence begins to feel foreign, even arrogant. The company you keep is either your ladder to elevation or your anchor to stagnation. There is no middle ground. Many potential world changers remain eternally average, not because they lack ability, but because they refuse to distance themselves from influences that quietly drain their ambition. This principle extends beyond people to include every aspect of your surroundings, the information you consume, the spaces you occupy, even the conversations you entertain. Each element either sharpens your focus like a whetstone or dulls your edge with each passing day. The transformation you seek requires ruthless honesty about whether your current environment supports or sabotages your highest vision. Behind every extraordinary achievement lies an environment intentionally designed to nurture greatness. Champions understand this. Instinctively, they create protective boundaries around their mission, guarding it from negative influences that would diminish their focus. They recognize that environmental mastery often demands difficult choices, including releasing relationships that no longer serve their growth. Comment below with "Guard my focus" if you're committed to creating an environment that elevates rather than diminishes your potential. Now, let me address the silent killer that prevents most people from ever experiencing the power of momentum. The environment you cultivate extends beyond physical spaces to the people who occupy your inner circle. This revelation has transformed countless lives. Your personal growth is directly proportional to the standards of those you surround yourself with. When you deliberately seek out individuals who push against your limitations, who challenge your thinking, who make you uncomfortable with staying comfortable, you unlock accelerated evolution in every area of your life. Growth-minded people serve as living embodiments of what's possible. They don't merely inspire you with words, they elevate your standards through their actions. Their presence in your life becomes a catalyst for your own transformation, constantly reminding you that settling for mediocrity is a choice, not a sentence. The uncomfortable truth is that your potential is too precious to sacrifice on the altar of comfortable relationships that silently endorse your limitations. Behind every quantum leap in personal development is often a change in who you allow close to you. This doesn't mean abandoning everyone who doesn't share your exact vision, but it does require honest assessment of who genuinely champions your growth versus who subtly undermines it. The journey toward extraordinary achievement demands companions who see your potential even when you don't, who believe in your vision, especially when it wavers. Subscribe now to transform these insights into lasting change. Every video we share is designed to help you break free from mediocrity and step into the greatness you were meant for. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exposing the most dangerous adversary on your path to greatness: procrastination. This silent saboteur doesn't announce itself with warnings or alarms. Instead, it whispers seductive lies that sound remarkably like wisdom. Wait until you're more prepared. Wait for the perfect moment. Wait until inspiration strikes. These persuasive falsehoods have derailed more dreams than any external obstacle ever could. The mindset shift that changes everything is recognizing that tomorrow is not promised. Inspiration is wildly unreliable, and readiness is an illusion manufactured by fear. The revelation that liberates high achievers from this trap is understanding that action precedes clarity, not the other way around. The path forward only reveals itself to those already in motion. Consider this hidden truth. Every person who has ever accomplished something significant did so while battling uncertainty. They didn't wait until doubt disappeared. They moved forward despite its presence. They understood intuitively that procrastination isn't merely delaying action. It's actively choosing regression because while you wait, opportunities evaporate, momentum dissipates, and competitors advance. The decision to act despite imperfect conditions isn't reckless. It's the ultimate demonstration of wisdom. It acknowledges life's temporal nature and refuses to sacrifice irreplaceable present moments for a hypothetical perfect future that never arrives. Behind every breakthrough innovation, artistic masterpiece, or personal triumph lies this fundamental principle. Imperfect action today trumps perfect planning tomorrow. Drop "taking action now" in the comments if you're committed to breaking procrastination's hold on your potential. Let's examine how taking consistent small actions creates an unstoppable force that propels you toward your dreams. The cemetery of unfulfilled potential is filled not with people who failed, but with those who never truly began. This revelation transforms everything. Perfect plans that remain unexecuted are worth far less than imperfect actions that generate real-world feedback. We've been conditioned to believe that thorough preparation guarantees success, but this mindset often serves as sophisticated procrastination, keeping us permanently anchored. In the planning phase, the journey of achievement reveals a counterintuitive truth. Clarity emerges through action, not before it. The path forward only materializes when you're already in motion. Think about learning to drive. No amount of theoretical study could replace the actual experience of getting behind the wheel. Similarly, your vision will never fully crystallize until you begin taking tangible steps toward it, however imperfect those steps might seem. Behind every breakthrough lies this fundamental principle: progress isn't about perfection, it's about movement. Even small, flawed actions generate momentum that perfect plans never will. They provide real data, create opportunities for adjustment, and most importantly, they transform your identity from someone who merely contemplates to someone who actually creates. The impact of this identity shift cannot be overstated. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how these individual actions compound into something truly magnificent: momentum. This force operates like a hidden law of achievement that few truly understand. When you consistently take action, even small, seemingly insignificant steps, you initiate a powerful transformation that extends far beyond the immediate results. Consider the revelation that completely changes how high achievers approach their work. Motivation is fundamentally unreliable. It fluctuates based on mood, circumstances, and countless variables beyond your control. Momentum, however, is steadfast. It's the accumulated energy of consistent action that carries you forward precisely when motivation abandons you. This is why the disciplined win, while the merely motivated eventually fade. One workout won't transform your body, but 100 consecutively will. One page of writing won't make you an author, but 1,000 will. One sales call won't build an empire, but 1,000 might. The mindset shift occurs when you stop seeking dramatic breakthroughs and instead embrace the extraordinary power of ordinary consistency. Small victories, stacked daily, create a foundation so strong that eventual success becomes almost inevitable. The hidden truth is that momentum operates according to physics, not feelings. Once an object in motion builds sufficient speed, it requires significantly less energy to maintain that movement than it did to begin. Your productivity, creativity, and growth follow this same principle. The hardest part is always starting. But once you've established rhythm through consistent action, progress becomes your natural state. This perspective renders motivation largely irrelevant. The highest achievers don't rely on feeling inspired. They rely on systems and habits that generate momentum, regardless of their emotional state. They understand that waiting for motivation before taking action is like waiting for fitness before going to the gym. It fundamentally misunderstands the relationship between cause and effect. Type: building momentum in the comments if you're committed to creating unstoppable force through daily consistent action. Let me show you how protecting your minutes like precious diamonds fundamentally changes everything else in your journey. The revelation that transforms ordinary achievers into extraordinary forces comes down to a fundamental shift in perspective, treating your minutes with the same reverence you would precious diamonds. This mindset unlocks a dimension of productivity that most people never experience. Consider the stark reality. When you lose money, you can earn it back. When you lose time, it vanishes forever into the abyss of what could have been. The blueprint behind every remarkable achievement reveals this common thread. High performers guard their minutes with fierce intentionality. They don't just plan their days, they design them with surgical precision. Each hour becomes a strategic investment rather than something to merely get through. This awakening fundamentally alters how you navigate your entire existence. The inner dialogue of achievement constantly asks one pivotal question: does this action move me toward my vision or away from it? This single filter, applied consistently, illuminates the hidden wastage that most people never recognize. The social media scroll that consumes 30 minutes, the meaningless debate that spans an hour, the unfocused meeting that devours your afternoon, all these seemingly harmless activities compound into a devastating opportunity cost when viewed through this lens. Time protection requires ruthless prioritization. Behind every extraordinary accomplishment lies not just what someone did, but what they deliberately chose not to do. The paradox of achievement is that saying no to almost everything becomes the prerequisite for saying yes to greatness. This mindset shift feels uncomfortable precisely because it demands rejecting what most consider normal. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by dispelling perhaps the most pervasive myth about success, that it somehow depends on mysterious forces beyond your control. The transformation occurs when you fully internalize this truth. Success is not a lottery ticket distributed by luck to the fortunate few. It's the natural, almost inevitable result of specific behaviors repeated with unwavering consistency. The journey reveals a pattern so predictable, it's almost mathematical. Success belongs to the disciplined, the focused, and the relentless. Those who master their time master their destiny. Those who waste their time waste their life. The choice, while brutal in its simplicity, creates the dividing line between extraordinary results and eternal mediocrity. This revelation dismantles the comfortable excuses we tell ourselves. If success were truly about luck or mysterious external forces, we could justify our current position without taking responsibility. But the uncomfortable truth illuminates why this perspective is actually liberating. It places the outcome squarely in your hands. The mindset of high achievers embraces this responsibility completely. They understand that how they spend their minutes today determines where they'll stand tomorrow. They don't drift through life hoping for favorable winds. They deliberately steer towards specific destinations, regardless of conditions. They don't view discipline as punishment, but as the ultimate expression of self-respect, a declaration that their dreams deserve their very best effort. Comment, "Minutes are diamonds," if you're committed to protecting your time with the same vigilance you'd protect physical treasure. Let me show you why defining your mission with absolute clarity becomes the compass that guides every decision you make. The mythology of potential has deceived countless dreamers. The uncomfortable revelation that transforms theoretical achievers into actual ones is this: life doesn't reward those with the most detailed plans, the greatest innate talents, or even the grandest visions. The universe responds only to action, consistent, persistent, determined action. This mindset shift liberates you from the tyranny of someday and places success firmly within your grasp today. Behind every breakthrough achievement stands someone who transcended planning and entered the arena of execution. They understood the fundamental equation that governs all accomplishment: courage to begin plus discipline to continue. Eventual victory. The journey reveals this pattern repeatedly. The person who takes imperfect action consistently will invariably outperform the genius who merely contemplates perfection. The transformation occurs when you fully embrace that life rewards fighters, not dreamers. Every day presents the same fundamental choice: to remain in the comfort of contemplation or to step into the uncertainty of action. Those who consistently choose action, even when fear whispers convincing reasons to wait, gradually build an unshakable foundation for extraordinary results. The battlefield of achievement is littered with brilliant plans that were never implemented, while seemingly ordinary individuals who simply refuse to quit stand victorious. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring why defining your mission with absolute precision becomes the navigational system for your entire existence. Without this clarity, you remain adrift in a sea of possibilities, pushed and pulled by whatever current happens to be strongest at any given moment. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that a person without direction becomes a slave to distractions, a prisoner of comfort, and ultimately a victim of time itself. This directionless state manifests as a peculiar form of suffering, constantly busy but never truly productive, always moving but never arriving anywhere meaningful. The symptom of this condition is an existence filled with activity but devoid of advancement. You might work hard, but without a clearly defined destination, your efforts scatter in 1,000 directions, creating exhaustion without progress. Life will never spontaneously hand you clarity. This precious resource must be intentionally created through deliberate reflection and decisive choice. The mindset shift occurs when you realize that defining your mission isn't just a helpful exercise, it's the fundamental prerequisite for every other success strategy. Without it, discipline lacks direction, time management lacks purpose, and motivation lacks sustainability. The journey toward mission clarity requires asking penetrating questions. What am I willing to dedicate my life to building? What contribution am I uniquely positioned to make? What battle am I prepared to fight, even when it's difficult? The answers won't materialize immediately, but the mere act of wrestling with these questions begins to crystallize your direction. This precision acts as the central filtering mechanism for everything else: your environment, your associations, your habits, your investments of time. With mission clarity, decisions that once seemed complex become surprisingly simple. Each choice reduces to a single question: does this align with my defined purpose or not? This filter eliminates the paralysis of endless options and accelerates progress exponentially. Write "Finding My Mission" in the comments if you're committed to defining your direction with absolute clarity. Let's explore why your surroundings will either elevate you toward greatness or silently sabotage your highest aspirations. A mission transcends the realm of casual aspiration. The revelation that separates the extraordinary from the merely ambitious is understanding that a true mission isn't a gentle hope whispered in quiet moments. It's a declaration of war against mediocrity. This perspective transforms everything. When you define your mission with this level of conviction, it demands not just your attention, but your entire being. It requires your energy when you're exhausted, your discipline when temptation calls, and your perseverance when obstacles appear insurmountable. The mindset shift occurs when you realize that a mission worthy of your life will never feel comfortable. It should frighten you slightly with its magnitude, while simultaneously igniting something primal within you. This burning vision becomes the catalyst that pulls you from bed when others sleep, that keeps you working when others quit, that forces you to rise when everything within you begs to rest. It's the internal compass that remains steady when external conditions grow chaotic. Behind every surrender to ordinary existence lies the absence of a mission powerful enough to make mediocrity intolerable. The journey toward extraordinary achievement begins the moment you define a purpose so compelling that returning to average becomes more painful than pushing through difficulty. This mission becomes the foundation upon which every other success strategy builds. Discipline without direction quickly evaporates, but discipline fueled by burning purpose becomes virtually unstoppable. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining the historical blueprint that underlies every significant human achievement. The revelation hiding in plain sight is that nothing of consequence has ever been created without first existing as a mission in someone's mind. Nations weren't accidentally established. They were envisioned by individuals who carried a concept of governance so compelling they were willing to risk everything to manifest it. Movements that transformed society weren't random occurrences. They began as missions carried by those who refused to accept prevailing conditions. This pattern repeats across every domain of human excellence. Behind transformative businesses stood founders with missions that transcended mere profit. Behind revolutionary scientific discoveries stood researchers driven by questions that consumed their thoughts. Behind artistic masterpieces stood creators possessed by visions they couldn't ignore. The common denominator wasn't exceptional circumstances or even unusual talent. It was the presence of a mission that towered above their fears. The catalyst for this level of achievement is having a vision substantially bigger than your fear. Fear never disappears for high achievers. They simply develop missions compelling enough to overshadow it. They refuse to accept ordinary outcomes, not because they're inherently different from others, but because they've defined purposes that make settling intolerable. This refusal becomes the foundation for extraordinary results. Your own transformation follows this same pattern. The question isn't whether you experience fear, doubt, or uncertainty. These are universal human conditions. The question is whether you've defined a mission powerful enough to pull you through these inevitable challenges. Without this gravitational force, your journey remains at the mercy of fluctuating motivation and external circumstances. Type "mission over mediocrity" in the comments if you're committed to defining a purpose that makes ordinary existence impossible. Let's explore how procrastination silently steals your most precious resource while disguising itself as reasonable caution. The most dangerous deception in our modern world isn't that someone will actively prevent your success. It's the subtle reality that, in the absence of your own defined mission, external forces will happily script your life for you. This revelation transforms everything. The vacuum created by not deciding your purpose doesn't remain empty, it gets filled immediately. Your boss assigns priorities based on corporate needs. Society imposes expectations, reflecting cultural norms, and the endless stream of digital distractions fragments your attention until your existence becomes a scattered response to whatever happens to be loudest in the moment. The mindset shift occurs when you realize this isn't a theoretical threat, but an active process already underway in your life. Without a self-defined mission, your journey becomes a series of reactions rather than intentional creations. The evidence appears everywhere: living for weekends, measuring progress by consumption rather than contribution, finding identity in others' expectations rather than internal conviction. This pattern represents the silent surrender of your creative power to external programming. Behind every extraordinary life stands someone who refused this passive arrangement. They recognize the hidden truth that undirects most lives. Failing to define your purpose doesn't prevent you from having one. It merely outsources the decision to forces unconcerned with your fulfillment. The most profound act of rebellion against mediocrity is defining your mission with such clarity that external scripts lose their gravitational pull on your decisions. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the remarkable transformation that occurs when your mission achieves perfect clarity. The revelation that changes everything is this: a clear mission creates an entirely new decision-making framework. The fundamental question shifts from the weak, "Do I feel like doing this?" to the powerful, "Does this move me closer to my vision?" This single change in perspective eliminates countless internal battles and accelerates progress exponentially. With mission clarity, formerly difficult choices become surprisingly simple. Activities that once seemed appealing suddenly reveal themselves as sophisticated distractions. Conversations that once occupied hours now register as energy drains. Time-wasting habits that were once mindless now feel actively painful, like watching someone steal something precious from you in slow motion. This transformation reframes your relationship with everything. Distractions lose their hypnotic power because they're no longer competing with boredom, they're competing with your life's purpose. Gossip and negative conversation feel like literal poison because you recognize them as contaminants in your mission's ecosystem. Hours spent on meaningless activities register as theft because you understand viscerally that time isn't just passing, it's being stolen from your greater work. The decision-making advantage this creates cannot be overstated. While others navigate life through constantly shifting emotional states and external influences, your choices flow from a single, unwavering reference point. This consistency compounds over time, creating momentum where others experience only endless restart cycles. Each aligned decision reinforces your direction while simultaneously weakening the pull of distraction. Share "I'm defining my direction" in the comments if you're ready to stop outsourcing your life script and start creating from internal clarity. Let's explore why treating your mission as sacred transforms not just what you do, but who you become. Defining your mission is just the beginning. Treating it as sacred transforms it from mere words into an unstoppable force. This revelation changes everything. A mission casually held exists only in theory, but a mission treated as sacred becomes embodied reality. When you elevate your purpose to this level, you live it, speak it, and willingly sacrifice for it. This mindset shift turns your direction from something you occasionally visit into the central organizing principle of your entire existence. The journey reveals a powerful truth. Doubt cannot maintain its grip when purpose grows stronger. The ancient battle between fear and vision resolves decisively when your mission burns brightly enough. It's not that fear disappears, it's that its voice becomes increasingly irrelevant against the backdrop of your burning commitment. The world will test your resolve with countless distractions, criticisms, and setbacks, but a mission held sacred develops an immunity to these inevitable challenges. Behind every extraordinary achievement lies this fundamental principle. The degree to which you treat your mission as sacred directly determines the power it exercises in your life. When your purpose becomes non-negotiable, something you would no sooner abandon than you would stop breathing, it develops an almost mystical ability to pull you through obstacles that would stop others completely. This unwavering dedication becomes the hidden engine behind breakthrough results. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the profound transformation that occurs when you finally commit to a clear mission. The revelation that changes everything is how this single decision ripples through every dimension of your existence. Your mornings, once faced with resistance, suddenly possess power because they represent the first opportunity to advance your purpose. Your work, previously a means of survival, gains profound meaning because it now connects to something transcendent rather than merely transactional. The mindset metamorphosis extends to how you view sacrifice. What others perceive as painful discipline, you recognize as necessary investment. The discomfort of early mornings, the challenge of focused effort, the surrender of short-term pleasures, all of these shift from burdens to be avoided into worthy exchanges for something infinitely more valuable. This perspective fundamentally alters your relationship with difficulty itself. Perhaps the most significant transformation occurs in your fundamental state of being. Without mission, you exist. You occupy space, consume resources, and pass time. With mission, you advance, you move with purpose, create value, and invest time. This subtle shift represents the difference between a life of passive acceptance and one of active creation. It's the dividing line between merely surviving and truly living. The journey toward greatness begins with this single realization. You were not designed merely to exist. The profound emptiness many experience comes not from lacking possessions or achievements, but from lacking purpose. When you decide on your mission, when you commit to it with unwavering conviction, you activate dormant potential that transforms ordinary moments into meaningful progression. Comment: purpose is power. If you're committed to treating your mission as something sacred rather than something casual, let's examine how your environment either nurtures your greatest potential or quietly suffocates it before it can fully emerge. The revelation that transforms ordinary strivers into extraordinary achievers is this: your environment is not passive background. It's an active force constantly shaping who you're becoming. This perspective shifts everything. Your surroundings are either sharpening you into a weapon of precision and impact or slowly dulling you into mediocrity and weakness. There is no neutral ground in this equation. The mindset transformation occurs when you recognize that no one, regardless of willpower, talent, or intention, rises above the consistent influence they allow daily access to their mind, heart, and spirit. The journey reveals this pattern with striking clarity. The people you regularly interact with, the physical spaces you inhabit, the information you consume, the conversations you entertain, all these elements are silently programming your subconscious expectations, beliefs, and ultimately your actions. This programming operates whether you're conscious of it or not, creating an invisible boundary around what you perceive as possible for your life. Behind every extraordinary achievement stands someone who fiercely guarded their environmental influences. They understood intuitively that continuous exposure to mediocrity eventually makes mediocrity feel normal, while regular exposure to excellence gradually makes excellence feel attainable. This recognition transforms environment from a mere preference into a strategic imperative for anyone serious about transcending ordinary results. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring a powerful metaphor that illuminates why environmental protection is non-negotiable. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that your environment functions exactly like soil for a seed. This biological reality creates a perfect blueprint for personal growth. A seed contains immense potential, but that potential can only express itself to the degree that its surroundings support its development. The mindset shift occurs when you fully internalize this truth. You cannot grow roses in poisoned soil, and you cannot build greatness surrounded by mediocrity. This isn't motivational hyperbole, it's a fundamental principle governing all growth. The most genetically perfect seed planted in toxic soil will either fail to thrive or express a diminished version of its potential. Similarly, your highest aspirations cannot fully materialize in an environment that subtly or overtly undermines them. This perspective reframes how you view the influences you permit in your life. The casual friendships that consistently drain your energy, the physical spaces that reinforce distraction, the information diet that feeds negativity rather than possibility, all these elements constitute the soil in which you're attempting to grow your future. Their impact isn't measured in days, but in years, as their cumulative effect gradually shapes your conception of what's normal, acceptable, and possible. The transformation begins with brutal honesty about whether your current environment supports or sabotages your vision. This assessment isn't about judgment, but strategic clarity. Just as a farmer wouldn't take it personally that certain soil conditions won't support particular crops, you needn't attach emotional weight to recognizing when certain influences don't support your growth. This objectivity allows you to make necessary changes without unnecessary guilt or conflict. Type "guarding my garden" in the comments if you're committed to creating an environment that nurtures rather than diminishes your potential. Let's explore the silent killer that prevents most people from experiencing the unstoppable power of momentum. Perhaps the most insidious threat to your potential isn't external opposition, but the gradual erosion of your standards. This revelation transforms everything. When surrounded by mediocrity, you don't experience a sudden collapse. You undergo a subtle recalibration that happens so gradually you barely notice it happening. The transformation occurs through 1,000 small surrenders, each one barely perceptible. You begin making exceptions for what you once considered unacceptable. You start normalizing what you previously recognized as average. The comfort zone that once felt like a temporary rest becomes your permanent residence. The journey reveals this pattern with alarming clarity. We unconsciously absorb and reflect the standards of those we consistently surround ourselves with. Human beings are fundamentally adaptive creatures. We calibrate to our environment as a survival mechanism. This biological reality creates an invisible danger when your surroundings quietly communicate that good enough is sufficient, that comfort trumps growth, that average represents a reasonable ceiling for your aspirations. Behind this silent death of potential lies a profound psychological principle. We become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Their attitudes, their beliefs, their ambitions, their tolerances, all gradually infiltrate your thinking until one day you look in the mirror and realize you've become exactly like them. This metamorphosis doesn't announce itself. It happens in whispers, not shouts. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the necessary counteraction to this environmental contamination. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that elimination precedes elevation. Your capacity to rise is directly proportional to your willingness to ruthlessly cut away what diminishes you. This isn't mere preference, it's strategic necessity for anyone committed to extraordinary achievement. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that time wasters and energy vampires aren't merely annoying inconveniences, they're active threats to your most precious resources. Every minute surrendered to people who drain rather than energize you represents irreplaceable life force diverted from your mission. Every conversation that leaves you depleted rather than inspired constitutes a direct attack on your potential. The uncomfortable truth is that you cannot simultaneously protect your dream and permit consistent access to those who diminish it. This perspective transforms how you view boundaries. Protecting your peace, your mental clarity, emotional stability, and spiritual alignment becomes as non-negotiable as protecting your financial assets or physical safety. You wouldn't leave your home unlocked in a dangerous neighborhood, yet many leave their mental space completely unguarded against toxic influences. You wouldn't hand your wallet to someone who repeatedly steals from you, yet many repeatedly give their precious time to those who waste it without remorse. The journey toward greatness demands a fundamental reframing. You do not owe your life to people who consistently drain it. This isn't selfishness, it's stewardship. Your potential isn't just about you, it's about the contribution you're capable of making when operating at your highest level. Permitting influences that diminish this potential doesn't just harm you, it deprives the world of what you might have created or become. Comment, protecting my potential. If you recognize the need to guard your standards against the silent erosion of mediocre influences, let's explore why seeking environments that deliberately challenge you accelerates your growth beyond what comfortable surroundings could ever produce. The counterintuitive catalyst for exponential growth isn't found in comfortable spaces, but in environments that deliberately stretch your capabilities. This revelation transforms everything. While most people instinctively seek situations where they can feel competent and confident, extraordinary achievers do exactly the opposite. They intentionally place themselves in rooms where they feel slightly intimidated. This strategic discomfort creates the ideal conditions for rapid expansion of your skills, mindset, and vision. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that being the smallest fish in a powerful pond accelerates your growth far more than being the dominant presence in a limited environment. When you're surrounded by people operating at levels that make you uncomfortable, their standards silently become your new normal. Their questions challenge your thinking. Their accomplishments redefine what you perceive as possible. Their pace forces you to move faster than you would naturally choose. Behind every quantum leap in personal development stands this principle. Look for spaces where mediocrity cannot survive and excuses are immediately crushed. These high-standards environments create a natural filtration system. Either you rise to meet the elevated expectations or the discomfort eventually forces you out. This subtle pressure becomes the invisible hand that pushes you past self-imposed limitations you might never overcome in more forgiving surroundings. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing perhaps the most important principle governing personal transformation. The revelation that changes everything is this: environment is fundamentally stronger than willpower. This isn't motivational theory, it's psychological reality with profound implications for your journey. You can possess the greatest intentions, the most detailed plans, and even temporary bursts of extraordinary discipline. But if your surroundings consistently oppose these aspirations, your strength will eventually crack under the continuous pressure. The journey reveals this pattern repeatedly. Trying to sustain motivation in an environment that undermines your goals is like swimming upstream in a powerful current. You might make progress through sheer effort for a while, but the relentless opposing force eventually depletes your energy. The breakthrough realization is that changing your environment works with these psychological forces rather than against them. It actually multiplies your progress exponentially by aligning external influences with your internal direction. This perspective completely reframes the concept of willpower. Rather than viewing discipline as an infinite resource you should be able to summon regardless of circumstances, you recognize it as a precious but limited force best used strategically. The wisest approach isn't developing superhuman willpower that can overcome any environment. It's deliberately engineering surroundings that naturally pull you toward your goals instead of away from them. Consider the transformative impact of this shift. When your environment supports your aspirations, progress requires significantly less effort. Actions that once demanded intense discipline gradually become your default behavior. Standards that initially felt uncomfortable slowly become your normal expectations. The battle between what you want to achieve and what your surroundings encourage simply disappears, creating a powerful alignment that accelerates everything. Drop elevation through environment in the comments if you're ready to deliberately seek spaces that stretch rather than comfort you. Let's explore how guarding what enters your mind fundamentally changes the quality of your thoughts, decisions, and ultimately your destiny. Your mind isn't merely a passive receiver of information. It's an active battlefield where your potential is either defended or surrendered daily. This revelation transforms everything. Every piece of content you consume, every conversation you entertain, every thought pattern you permit, is actively programming your subconscious, shaping your beliefs, and ultimately determining your actions. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that mental input isn't neutral entertainment. It's either strategic reinforcement of your vision or subtle sabotage of your highest aspirations. The journey toward extraordinary achievement demands vigilant protection of this mental territory. Behind the scenes of every significant breakthrough lies someone who treated their mind as sacred ground, carefully filtering what they allowed past its gates. They understood intuitively that what goes in inevitably determines what comes out. Feed your mind with strategy, discipline, and vision, and it produces clarity, direction, and power. Feed it with distraction, negativity, and limitation, and it manifests confusion, doubt, and stagnation. This perspective transforms how you view your daily information diet. The random social media scroll, the habitual consumption of negative news, the unconscious absorption of limiting beliefs from casual conversations. All these seemingly innocent activities constitute direct attacks on your mental clarity and energy. The breakthrough occurs when you begin curating your mental influences with the same intentionality you would apply to selecting food for your physical body, recognizing that mental nutrition determines mental performance. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring perhaps the most uncomfortable truth about transformation. The revelation that changes everything is this: you cannot fundamentally change while remaining in the same environment that shaped your current reality. This isn't motivational theory, it's a psychological necessity. True elevation requires separation from what holds you down. The journey reveals this pattern consistently. Trying to implement new behaviors, standards, or beliefs while surrounded by the very influences that created your existing patterns creates nearly insurmountable friction. The environment you've outgrown will continuously pull you back toward familiar territory through 1,000 subtle mechanisms, expectations, reactions, reminders, and established dynamics that unconsciously reinforce who you've been rather than who you're becoming. This recognition often demands difficult decisions, leaving behind comfortable routines, familiar spaces, and sometimes even long-established relationships that no longer align with your direction. The mindset transformation occurs when you realize this separation isn't rejection of your past, but protection of your future. It's not an act of disloyalty, but an act of integrity toward the person you're committed to becoming. Growth inherently involves outgrowing perspectives, outgrowing environments, outgrowing versions of yourself that once felt sufficient. This natural evolution creates a choice point. Remain tethered to what's familiar or step into spaces that reflect and reinforce your emerging vision. The path of transformation invariably requires the courage to choose the latter, even when that choice creates temporary discomfort or uncertainty. Type "ready for elevation" in the comments if you recognize that true growth might require leaving behind what once felt essential. Let's explore why procrastination, disguised as waiting for the right time, silently steals more dreams than any external obstacle ever could. The most dangerous word in the language of achievement isn't failure, it's later. This revelation transforms everything. What appears to be a harmless postponement is actually the silent assassin of potential. Later isn't a neutral scheduling decision. It's the graveyard where dreams are quietly buried without the ceremony of a proper funeral. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that procrastination doesn't announce itself as the enemy of your future. It presents itself as the reasonable protector of your comfort. The journey reveals this pattern with stunning clarity. While you're perfecting your plan, someone else is already executing theirs. While you're waiting for better circumstances, someone else is adapting to current ones. While you're researching every possible contingency, someone else is learning through direct experience. This isn't about comparison, it's about the universal law that governs achievement. Motion creates opportunity, hesitation eliminates it. Behind every regret lies this fundamental truth. Time passes regardless of how you use it. The minutes, hours, and days you postpone action aren't stored in a vault for future use. They vanish permanently, taking with them the compound interest they might have generated. Toward your vision, what masquerades as prudent patience is often destruction disguised as comfort, stealing irreplaceable momentum that could have carried you toward your goals. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the hidden revelation that liberates high achievers from paralysis. The breakthrough that changes everything is this: the conditions will never be perfect. This isn't pessimism, it's liberation. The person waiting for all obstacles to disappear, all doubts to resolve, and all plans to reach completion before taking action has fundamentally misunderstood the mechanics of achievement. The transformation begins when you embrace uncertainty as the arena where greatness is forged, not the enemy of progress. Every significant breakthrough in human history, scientific discoveries, artistic masterpieces, revolutionary businesses, personal transformations, emerged not from perfect conditions, but from imperfect action in the midst of uncertainty. The winners aren't those who eliminated all risk before moving. They're those who developed the courage to take steps before seeing the entire path. This perspective reframes fear from a warning signal to an indicator of growth opportunity. When fear whispers persuasive reasons to wait, the achiever recognizes this voice not as protection, but as resistance to necessary expansion. The uncomfortable truth is that clarity doesn't precede action, it emerges from it. The path forward only reveals itself to those already in motion, making the first step an act of faith that subsequent steps will become visible once you're moving. Consider the revelation that fundamentally alters how high performers approach uncertainty. They don't eliminate it, they develop a relationship with it. They train themselves to function effectively while carrying doubt rather than waiting for doubt to disappear. They make peace with the discomfort of not knowing every detail before beginning. This capacity to act decisively with incomplete information becomes one of the most powerful competitive advantages in any field. Share embracing imperfect action in the comments if you recognize that waiting for perfect conditions is actually stealing your most precious resource, time. Let's explore why the myth of overnight success blinds most people to the true power of consistent small actions compounded over time. The most profound revelation that separates dreamers from achievers is this: clarity doesn't appear magically while you're standing still, it emerges directly from motion. This perspective transforms everything. You don't stumble upon success through contemplation alone. You collide with it by moving forward deliberately, even imperfectly. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that action isn't merely the implementation of clarity, it's actually the catalyst that creates it. The journey reveals this counterintuitive truth. Only after you begin moving does the path forward become visible. The writer discovers their voice not through endless planning, but through the act of writing. The entrepreneur finds their market not through perfect forecasting, but through real-world testing. The artist develops their style not through theorizing, but through creating. This pattern repeats across every domain of human excellence. Action precedes clarity, not the other way around. Behind every significant breakthrough lies this fundamental principle. When you act, you force life to respond. This isn't mystical thinking, it's practical reality. Doors open because you knocked on them. People notice because you made yourself visible. Opportunities emerge because you created movement that intersected with them. The universe doesn't reward passive waiting. It responds to active energy that disturbs the status quo and creates new possibilities through its very motion. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exposing perhaps the most destructive myth in the pursuit of achievement: the illusion of perfection. The revelation that liberates extraordinary performers is recognizing that perfection doesn't exist in the realm of action. It's merely a concept that lives in imagination. The winners in any field aren't those who planned flawlessly, but those who started imperfectly and improved consistently through iteration and adaptation. The transformation begins when you embrace this liberating truth. Every meaningful journey is fundamentally a process of starting poorly and getting better. The master painter began with crude drawings. The virtuoso musician started with fumbling notes. The visionary entrepreneur launched with flawed products. What separated them from countless others wasn't innate perfection. It was their willingness to begin before they felt ready and improve through direct experience rather than theoretical preparation. This perspective completely reframes how you view imperfect action. The small step you take today, however flawed, however uncertain, however incomplete, holds more potential energy than a lifetime of perfect plans that remain unexecuted. The draft you write with obvious weaknesses still moves you forward more than the flawless manuscript that exists only in your imagination. The business you launch with imperfections still creates momentum that theoretical planning never will. The journey toward mastery reveals the hidden truth. What appears as natural talent in others is almost always the result of countless imperfect attempts refined through persistent iteration. Behind every overnight success stands someone who was willing to be embarrassingly bad before becoming impressively good. They understood that the pathway to excellence isn't avoiding mistakes, but using them as the essential feedback mechanism that guides improvement. Comment: progress over perfection if you're ready to embrace imperfect action as the true catalyst for growth. Let's explore why readiness is a dangerous illusion that keeps most people permanently trapped in preparation mode. The most dangerous myth that keeps potential locked in permanent hibernation is the illusion of readiness. This revelation transforms everything. Nobody, not a single person who has ever achieved greatness, felt completely ready before they began. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that readiness isn't a prerequisite for action. It's the direct result of it. The transformation begins the moment you understand that preparation and readiness are fundamentally different concepts. One happens before the battle, while the other can only be forged within it. The journey reveals this pattern consistently. The skills, confidence, and clarity you're waiting to feel before starting can only be developed through the very action you're postponing. It's the ultimate catch-22 of achievement. You won't feel ready until you've done it, but you can't do it until you feel ready. The breakthrough comes from breaking this circular logic by accepting a fundamental truth. Readiness is built in the battlefield, not in the barracks. Behind every extraordinary accomplishment stands someone who stepped into territory for which they weren't fully prepared. They didn't overcome fear before acting, they developed courage through action. They didn't eliminate uncertainty before beginning. They cultivated clarity through forward movement. The revelation that liberates your potential is that throwing yourself into the fire of action isn't reckless. Abandon. It's the only legitimate path to genuine readiness. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the physics of achievement that most never harness. The transformation that changes everything is understanding that momentum doesn't appear magically. It begins with a single, often unremarkable step that few ever witness. This step creates a subtle shift that, while nearly imperceptible at first, contains the seed of unstoppable force. The revelation that separates achievers from dreamers is recognizing that when you take action today, tomorrow's action becomes incrementally easier. This isn't motivational theory, it's psychological reality. The first workout might feel excruciating, but the second contains slightly less resistance. The first page might be agonizing to write, but the second flows with marginally more ease. These microscopic improvements compound over time, gradually transforming what once required immense willpower into something approaching automatic behavior. This perspective fundamentally alters how you view the significance of beginning. Each action you take doesn't just accomplish the immediate task, it simultaneously lays foundational wiring in your neurology that makes subsequent actions more accessible. The first step isn't merely symbolic, it's a catalyst that begins a chemical reaction of momentum, creating energy that wasn't previously available. The journey toward mastery reveals the hidden truth. Action compounds just like financial investments. Small, consistent deposits of effort accumulate interest over time, eventually reaching a tipping point where progress accelerates beyond what deliberate effort alone could produce. The force of momentum begins carrying you forward even when motivation fluctuates, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of progress that approaches inevitability. Yet this entire transformative process remains theoretical until you cross the most critical threshold, starting. All the potential momentum, all the compound interest of action, all the eventual ease of progress, none of it materializes until you take that initial step, however small or imperfect it might be. Type "breaking inertia today" in the comments. If you're committed to taking that critical first step, rather than waiting for readiness that never comes. Let's explore why success isn't built through dramatic breakthroughs, but through the consistent application of daily disciplines that most people underestimate. The grand illusion that derails countless aspiring achievers is the myth of the overnight success, the belief that extraordinary results emerge from singular dramatic breakthroughs. This revelation transforms everything. What appears from the outside as sudden achievement is almost always the culmination of consistent, often invisible effort applied over extended time. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that success isn't built through explosive moments, but through the steady fire of daily discipline that most people underestimate or abandon entirely. The journey reveals this pattern with remarkable consistency. Behind every sudden breakthrough stands someone who labored diligently in obscurity, showing up day after day when there was no external validation, no obvious progress, no evidence their efforts would ever bear fruit. They understood intuitively what most never grasp, that greatness isn't forged in grand gestures, but in relentless daily steps that compound over time into extraordinary outcomes. This perspective fundamentally reframes how you approach achievement. Rather than waiting for inspiration to strike like lightning or for the perfect opportunity to present itself, you focus instead on the daily deposits of effort that seem insignificant in isolation but create unstoppable momentum when stacked consecutively. The revelation that changes everything is recognizing that the path to your ultimate vision isn't a dramatic leap, but a consistent march in a deliberate direction. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring a principle that completely revolutionizes how high achievers approach their craft. The transformation begins with this critical understanding. Consistency ultimately wields far greater power than intensity. This isn't motivational theory. It's practical reality demonstrated repeatedly across every domain of human excellence. The journey reveals this counterintuitive truth. Intensity might ignite the initial flame of progress, but consistency is what transforms that spark into an inferno. The passionate burst of motivation that drives you to work 18-hour days might launch your project, but it's the steady rhythm of showing up day after day, even when passion fades, that ultimately builds something substantial. Intensity gets you started, consistency gets you to the finish line. Each day you show up, something remarkable happens beneath the surface. The neural pathways that once required conscious effort to activate gradually strengthen. The resistance that initially made action difficult slowly diminishes. The discipline that once demanded immense willpower gradually transforms into natural behavior. This metamorphosis doesn't happen through occasional bursts of extraordinary effort. It emerges from ordinary actions performed with religious consistency. The revelation that separates masters from amateurs is understanding that true discipline isn't forcing yourself to do difficult things. It's transforming difficult things into automatic behaviors through consistent repetition. The professional writer doesn't rely on inspiration. They sit down at the same time each day until writing becomes as natural as breathing. The elite athlete doesn't depend on motivation. They train with such consistency that working out becomes an essential part of their identity rather than a conscious choice. This perspective renders motivation largely irrelevant to long-term achievement. Motivation fluctuates by design. It's an emotion, and like all emotions, it rises and falls based on countless variables beyond your control. Consistency, however, operates from a different mechanism entirely. It draws power not from emotional states, but from structural habits and identity-level commitments that function regardless of how you feel on any given day. Share consistency compounds in the comments if you recognize that showing up daily ultimately outperforms sporadic brilliance. Let's explore why small, consistent victories create an unstoppable momentum that transforms ordinary efforts into extraordinary results. The revelation that liberates high achievers from the tyranny of fluctuating emotions is this: momentum doesn't require motivation to sustain itself. This perspective transforms everything. While most people remain trapped in the cycle of waiting to feel like it before taking action, winners build systems and routines that move them forward, regardless of their emotional state on any given day. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that motivation is fundamentally unreliable. It's a fair-weather friend that disappears precisely when you need it most. The journey reveals this pattern with striking clarity. Behind every extraordinary achievement stands someone who continued moving forward on days when they felt inspired, and equally on days when they felt nothing at all. They understood intuitively that momentum, once properly established, creates its own energy source that functions independently of transient emotional states. This revelation completely reframes how you approach consistency. Rather than chasing the elusive feeling of motivation, high performers focus instead on creating conditions where action happens automatically. They design environments that minimize friction, establish routines that don't require decision-making, and build identity-level commitments that transcend daily fluctuations in energy or enthusiasm. The breakthrough occurs when you stop asking, "Do I feel like doing this today?" and simply follow the system you've established, regardless of the answer. This approach acknowledges a fundamental truth about human psychology: the danger of stopping. The hidden cost of breaking momentum extends far beyond the single missed action. It undermines the entire automated system you've worked to establish. High achievers protect their momentum with almost religious fervor because they recognize that restarting requires significantly more energy than maintaining, even through difficult periods. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing perhaps the most sobering reality about momentum. It works with equal power in both directions. The transformation begins when you recognize that just as positive actions compound into unstoppable progress, negative patterns accumulate with the same mathematical certainty toward decline. This isn't motivational hyperbole. It's psychological physics that operates whether you acknowledge it or not. The mindset shift occurs when you realize that laziness, procrastination, and distraction aren't merely neutral pauses in your journey. They're actively creating momentum in the wrong direction. One wasted day doesn't exist in isolation. It subtly increases the likelihood of a second wasted day. 2 drift days create even stronger gravitational pull toward a third. Before long, what began as an exception transforms into a pattern that feels increasingly normal and surprisingly difficult to break. This perspective fundamentally changes how you view seemingly small compromises. The casual decision to skip today's workout, postpone today's writing session, or indulge in today's distraction isn't merely delaying progress, it's actively building neural pathways that make further compromise increasingly likely. The revelation that changes everything is recognizing that momentum toward mediocrity follows the same compound interest formula as momentum toward mastery. Behind every significant decline stands this same principle. Small, negative choices stacked consistently eventually create a powerful current pulling you toward the path of least resistance. What begins as conscious compromise gradually transforms into unconscious habit, reshaping your identity from the inside out until the very standards you once held sacred become negotiable exceptions. Drop "guarding my momentum" in the comments if you recognize the critical importance of protecting positive patterns while actively preventing negative ones from taking root. Let's explore why starting small but never stopping creates exponential results that appear almost magical to outside observers. The most liberating perspective shift on the journey to extraordinary achievement is embracing the power of humble beginnings. This revelation transforms everything. Massive accomplishments don't emerge from equally massive first steps. They develop through modest actions executed with religious consistency. The mindset shift occurs when you recognize that small beginnings aren't symptoms of weakness, but the foundation of enduring strength. What appears underwhelming in isolation becomes unstoppable when multiplied through relentless repetition. The journey reveals this pattern with remarkable clarity. Behind every marathon runner stands someone who once struggled to complete a single mile. Behind every voracious reader stands someone who once committed to just 10 pages daily. Behind every masterful creator stands someone who began with embarrassingly primitive attempts. The breakthrough occurs when you stop waiting for the perfect moment to begin your ambitious vision and instead start building momentum through actions so small they seem almost insignificant. This perspective completely reframes how you approach your aspirations. Don't wait to write a book. Commit to a single paragraph daily. Don't wait until you can invest thousands. Begin with whatever you have today. Don't postpone your fitness journey until you can dedicate 2 hours daily. Start with 10 minutes of intentional movement. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that what truly matters isn't the magnitude of your initial action, but the relentless consistency with which you repeat it. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring perhaps the most profound mindset transformation on this entire journey, the Breakthrough begins with this stark reality. While money can be lost and later recovered, time once gone vanishes permanently. This isn't philosophical rhetoric. It's the fundamental truth that underlies every aspect of achievement and fulfillment. The minutes passing right now represent irreplaceable fragments of your finite existence. The transformation occurs when you begin treating your minutes with the same reverence you would precious diamonds. Consider this hidden truth that few ever fully internalize. If you truly understood how limited your supply of time actually is, how brief your opportunity to create, to experience, to contribute, you would protect each minute with ferocious intensity. You would become acutely aware of how casual distractions, meaningless debates, and unfocused activities aren't merely passing time. They're actively stealing pieces of your future. This perspective creates an entirely new relationship with time itself. Every decision about how to spend your minutes becomes a profound statement about what you value. Every casual surrender to distraction becomes a conscious choice to trade irreplaceable life energy for fleeting entertainment. The revelation that changes everything is recognizing that time isn't just passing, it's being invested or squandered with each decision you make. Behind every extraordinary achievement stands someone who developed an almost unusual reverence for their minutes. They understood intuitively that time isn't merely a background dimension in which life occurs, it's the actual substance of life itself. They recognized that guarding these precious fragments wasn't rigid obsession, but the ultimate expression of self-respect and purposeful living. Type "valuing every minute" in the comments if you're ready to transform your relationship with time from casual consumption to strategic investment. Let's explore why those who master their time ultimately master their destiny through the compound effect of wise choices. As we reach this moment together, I want you to truly understand something profound. This journey of mastering your time, defining your mission, and creating unstoppable momentum isn't just philosophy. It's the fundamental blueprint for an extraordinary life. Each principle we've explored represents a tool that Neville Goddard and countless other achievers have used to transform ordinary existence into remarkable legacy. The question now becomes simple. What will you do with these insights? Will they become just another fleeting moment of inspiration, or will they serve as the catalyst for genuine transformation in your life? The difference lies not in what you've heard, but in what you'll implement starting today. If something in this message resonated with your spirit, if you felt that spark of recognition that says, "This truth was meant for me," I'd be honored if you'd tap that like button. It's a small action that creates momentum of its own, both for you and for others who need to discover these same principles. I'd love to continue this journey with you beyond today. Subscribe to join our community of focused achievers who refuse to trade their destinies for distractions. Each week, we explore another dimension of the extraordinary life that becomes possible when you master these fundamental principles. Leave a comment saying, "Time Master," if you're committed to valuing your minutes like the precious diamonds they truly are. I read every comment personally, and your voice matters tremendously in this community. The principles we've explored today are just the beginning. I've created a video right here that dives deeper into creating unstoppable momentum through small daily habits. Click and continue this journey with me there, because the momentum we've started today deserves to be protected and amplified tomorrow. Remember, those who master their time ultimately master their destiny. I'll see you in the next video.